If a conjoined twin commits a murder who goes to trial, and if one of them is innocent, how do you punish the other? Here's a Slate article written by 4 attorneys on what would be done if a Siamese twin commits murder. Does his brother get punished, too? DL, Doctor. You might throw both twins in prison but treat only the guilty one as if he were a convict. When the siblings were released, for example, the good twin would have all the rights of a normal citizen, while the evil twin would have lost the right to vote, be registered as a sex offender, etc. You might even compensate the good twin according to the relevant payout rules for wrongful convictions. You might be tempted to shorten the prison term or substitute home detention or supervised release. The courts might impose a fine on the guilty twin instead of a prison sentence. Another possibility would be enforced separation. There's little chance that the courts would allow for this kind of violation of the body, however. Note, not a reply to the above post. I'm not a believer in the current prison system. Isolating criminals to keep them away from society until they're safe to be around, fairly neutral about that. Taking away all their rights and autonomy, no. I'm assuming both twins have their own separate brains, but share the rest of their bodies. Reply to the above post, reading that, I'm thinking home supervision and an allowance since neither of them are ever getting a job if one of them is registered as a sex offender or a murderer. What's an employer going to do? Pretend the other guy isn't there and hope for the best. Plus it's already been proven that the innocent twin can't intervene or stop the other one from committing crime. Or life in an expensive clinic/institution. One geared towards reintegration rather than punishment. Assuming the guilty twin makes use of doctor/client confidentiality and the innocent one isn't allowed to overheat anything, if the twins both have their own separate sight and hearing abilities, the guilty one can go through therapy while the innocent one can put on NC headphones or read a book. Also, the innocent twin might need trauma therapy. How are you going to facilitate that without the guilty twin sabotaging it? Even if the headphone solution is reversed, like how a malicious twin is going to shut up and mind his own business. Medical treatment-wise, innocent twin has insomnia. Behavioral sleep therapy is hard enough on your own. A pharmaceutical solution will probably affect both bodies. Same for sedatives. Even small doses of antipsychotics can make a healthy person feel like they're living in a dream state. So anything that affects cognition or autonomy, think alternating sleeping pills so they can live separate lives, is out. Yeah, as hypothetical question, it's a great one to make me consider a lot of things. But in reality? I'm glad it's not for me to decide. The Supreme Court in America, the highest court in the land, essentially the final port of call for all decisions, has 9 judges, and when someone is appointed to the SC they are on it for life. Terrible idea, but that's another story. This makes it a very big deal when one of them dies, and results in a lot of debate and competition about who will replace them, what their political affiliations will be, how biased they are, etc. Because they stay on for life. It's a far more long-term decision than choosing a president. It's less democratic, the people do not get a direct vote, and the SC is arguably a more powerful institution than the office of president. In the case of RBG, it's an especially big deal because she was arguably the most respected person on the SC, considered fair, straight-talking, hard-working, and passionate about protecting the citizens of the U.S. It's generally agreed that the world has lost a real diamond, and there is every possibility that Trump and the GOP will try to replace her with someone less fair, less progressive, and more biased. One of the more left-leaning Supreme Court justices, a group of 9 judges that have a final say in high-profile legal cases, has just died. She was in her 80s, but in her time as a justice she brought about a lot of positive changes for women's rights, equal pay, and much more. With her passing, a new justice needs to replace her, and the issue is that DRMP wants to nominate a far-right conservative justice, but we are less than 2 months out from a presidential election, and in the past, presidents could not appoint anyone so close to an election. This will cause a shift to the right, and they have the power to overturn a lot of positive changes like women's reproductive rights, Roe v. Wade, and civil liberties. Edit, Word. As with any murder, I think all of those factors would need to be taken into consideration. But, I think as OP's question is phrased, we're meant to consider a case where it is clear that one twin is innocent and the other is guilty of murder. Several possible scenarios could fit the bill. The guilty twin may have planned the murder and not informed the other twin. The guilty twin may have committed murder while the innocent twin was sleeping or unconscious. The guilty twin may have lashed out suddenly in a murderous act without giving the innocent twin enough time to intervene. The innocent twin may have been physically unable to intervene, due to their anatomical positioning in relation to their twin, or due to which body parts they have control over. Even though sentencing in a case where the other twin could somehow be implicated would weigh more comfortably on the conscience, I think Hop's question is meant to have us consider a clear-cut case where one twin is clearly innocent. I see your point. Is there a way to determine how the twins are conjoined? I would posit surgically separating them, with the innocent twin retaining ownership of the most important shared organs. If that's impossible, or unethical, then I'd suggest building some sort of mobile prison contraption to ensure the guilty party feels the full effect of incarceration, while affording the innocent twin some semblance of a normal life. Edit, just realized people might take this seriously. I'm not a lawyer or judge. I don't bloody well know, was just playing out the silly side of the question. If they have remained conjoined into adulthood, then I think it's a fair bet that surgery had been dismissed as an option for them. Some examples would be individuals who essentially share one body, each having a single arm and a single leg, and having some shared innervation at the midline. There are also twins conjoined in such a way that surgery would pose a high risk of bleeding out, as well as craniopagous twins who do not have clear differentiation where their brain matter is conjoined. It is likely that separation had been ruled out due to being too risky or to the fact that it would greatly reduce functionality and quality of life. They may necessarily rely on one another for simple functions like ambulation, for example. Surgery as a potential sentence raises some interesting ethical considerations. It would violate the bodily autonomy of the innocent twin, for one thing, and it seems like it would set a dangerous precedent for human rights, in general. I do think it's worse to punish an innocent person than it is to let a guilty one go unpunished. As such, I think, in this situation, the focus should be less on punishment and more on protecting society. The murderous twin cannot be allowed to run amok, but that innocent twin is in the unfortunate position of being attached to them. So, the innocent twin is in a position similar to that of someone who is not guilty by reason of insanity. Through no fault of his own, his unsupervised freedom poses a danger to society. So, I think both twins should be kept under house arrest or detained in a secure residential environment that still facilitates quality of life. That's my take on the matter. In the recent years, there have been related reports appearing in the news media about conjoined twins. Conjoined twins have been the theme of medical study, scientific exhibition, human inquisitiveness and sometimes showbiz. This paper will try to examine the case of conjoined twins from a legal point of view. This is a hot topic with the common medical cases reported lately on conjoined twins. This paper will focus on some well-known cases related to conjoined twins, and how courts considered them, i.e. one individual or two. In doing so, the paper will highlight the different arguments set by the courts in an attempt to answer the main question of this paper. https://www.researchgate.net/publication/339069278_the_legal_personality_of_conjoined_twins. Apparently there have been cases in which legal personality was assigned to each individual of conjoined twins. This argument would only be stronger in a criminal case, so it is definitely possible. Other than that, it would depend on the circumstances, but it's hard for there not to be some degree of guilt in murder cases. If you expand the scope to all killings, including involuntary manslaughter especially, then it quickly becomes possible to imagine a myriad of examples in which this is possible. The question of how you would end up dealing with this is a very good question. I imagine it would be virtually impossible, but you also have to remember that restrictions are not punitive and therefore do not require any mens rea, guilt, to be proven in court. This for example applies to criminal insanity, where you can be locked up, for life, even though you are not guilty, because you simply do not have the mental capacity to be accountable for your actions.